This is our menu. It has all the fruits that the snake can eat, and it shows what they can do and their spawn rates. So this is the red fruit. It adds 1 point. Blue fruit also adds 1 point, but it increases the speed. Purple adds 1 point and it decreases the speed. White fruit is game over. And the thing about the white fruit is after it spawns, it disappears in 5 seconds. And then the green fruit, it adds 5 points in 5 segments. The blue fruit spawns 10% of the time. Purple is also the same. White fruit spawns 80% of the time, and green fruit spawns 5% of the time. So let's start the game. So first, the game starts off with 1 segment and with 1 fruit. Once you eat the red fruit, that basically triggers the spawning for all the other fruits. So first off, purple fruit, you slow down. Blue fruit speeds you up. And each of these lasts for 5 seconds. Green fruit, it adds 5 segments and 5 points. And the red fruit again, it adds 1 and it triggers all the spawning. And then lastly, white fruit is a game over fruit. And then you can press enter to restart. That's our game. Okay, so the way our snake game works is we have a snake array list, and each segment of the snake is a part of the array list. So this is our array list declared right here. And then this array list is all the x and y positions we have for these fruits right here. This array list is going to have all the possible x and y positions. Now this is our list of variables and booleans and stuff like that. Most basic one is block size. That's basically our segment size. This is our fruit size, our direction, our fruits x and y, score, and then the rest we can explain as it goes on. So our first method is void setup, which this first for loop, it adds all integers from 20 to 380 that are divisible by 20. It adds them to this array list, and that makes all the possible x and y locations for our fruits. Size 400 by 400, this makes our screen, our playing screen. And then this right here is what makes our text font and everything. This over here adds our first segment, so that is this segment you see right now. And then spawn fruit spawns our first fruit. Void draw is our second method. What that does, it sets the background to black, and it does all this stuff over here. And then if in M, and in M is short for in menu, it's a boolean. So if we are in the menu, it shows the menu, which is this method right here. It's just a menu method. It just makes the menu. And this is going to be explained in greater detail by Karthik later on. If we're not in the menu, it shows our score at the top. And if game is not over, it has this if statement inside of it, which if the frame count divided by SS, which is our snake speed, is equal to 0, we move the snake. This is another method that's going to be explained later on, but this is basically, it just moves the snake, and it does a couple other things. And then we draw the snake, which is just drawing the segments, and draw the fruit, which is again just drawing the fruit ellipse. And then if game is over, it's gonna do all of this. It's gonna say game over. It's gonna show our final score, and it's gonna say press enter to restart. Over here, this is our blue active, purple active, and white fruit active kind of things. So when the blue fruit is eaten, the snake goes faster. And it goes faster for 5 seconds, and this is what that does. So if blue fruit If BA is greater than boost duration, which is 5,000 millis, it resets SS back to 10, and it makes blue active false. Same thing for purple active, but same thing for purple active. And then white fruit is a different one. So white fruit is the one that disappears 5 seconds after spawning. So once white fruit is greater than white duration, it makes white fruit invisible. And then we have our biggest method, which is void move snake. It's kind of long. Yeah. So then, first thing void move snake does, it gets the x and y values for the snake's head. And then it sets a new x, it makes a new x and a new y value, which is basically the current x and y value multiplied plus the direction multiplied by the snake's size, the snake segment size, not the segment size, segment size, my bad. And then this segment of code right here, all that does, that is our looping feature. So when the snake's value is greater than 380 right here, it resets it to 0. So in each direction, it loops the snake's location. So that's that right there. So the way our snake moves, every time you see a every time you see the snake move, that's basically making a whole new object. So every time it moves, that's a new object, and the previous one got deleted. That's why we're adding a new segment to add our new x and new y values. In this segment of code, checks to make sure that the snake hasn't crashed into itself. So if the new x values, the new x and new y is equal to any segments x or y, then game over is equal to true and it breaks the game. Now this over here is a part where if the snake heads x and the snake heads y is equal to the fruits x and the fruits y, it sets SG, which is should grow, is equal to true, and it spawns another fruit, and it makes the score go up by 1. SG will be explained in further detail in a couple minutes. So this just spawns another fruit. And then inside of this function, this if statement, is all these other if statements. This is for the special fruits. So basically, every time a red fruit is eaten, it checks to make sure that when one of the blue fruits is not visible, and match.random is less than this chance right here, it makes random values for that fruit's x and y, and it sets the visibility to true. And this line over here just makes sure that the x and y values are not anywhere where the snake is. Is on snake is going to be explained later. And these chances right here can be changed. So this is just for demo. Right now it has it set so that these fruits spawn 100% of the time. It's not going to be like that. Blue fruit's supposed to spawn 10% of the time, purple is the same. White fruit spawns 80% of the time, and then green fruit spawns 5% of the time. And we can change that by just doing this 0.5, and now it spawns 5% of the time. But for demo purposes, 100% is good. Now once we make all these fruits, this is the same thing. This code right here is the same as the red fruit one, but for these special fruits. So if blue fruit is eaten, it makes the score go up by 1. It sets should grow to true. It sets the speed to 3 because that is the blue fruit's ability. It increases your speed. And SS is different. Lower number equals higher speed. And then it sets the blue fruit visible to false, and it starts the boost timer, which is this code right here. Same thing for purple fruit, but it sets the speed slower. And then for white fruit, it increases your score by 1, but it sets game over to true, so it ends the game. And then for green fruit, it increases your score by 5, and it adds 5 segments to the snake. And then this is where SG comes into play. So you know how earlier I had told you that every time the snake moves, it's a whole new segment, it's a whole new object. SG, when SG is false, it removes the old segment. So whenever it does eat a fruit, it makes SG true, and it does not remove the old segment, and then that old segment stays. See right there, it just didn't. So it just didn't delete that last segment. And then here we have draw snake, which basically just draws the snake, where it just draws all the segments. And then the rest is going to be explained by Kartik Manu.
Next, we have the class segment, which we have the x and y coordinates of the segment which we're creating, and then we'll create the segment by setting the x and y coordinates to them. And then we have the fill method, which will create the segment that we have. Next is the key press method, and then if the in menu boolean is true, it'll if the key is enter, if the key press is enter, it'll set the in menu boolean to be false, and it'll reset the game, which will start the game essentially. Um, then it'll start the game, and if the key pressed is up, and the direction of y is not 1, and if the direction of y is 1, it means it would be going down. If the direction of y is not 1, it would change the direction x to be 0, which would stop it from going to x. Then it would change the direction y to be -1, which would make it go up. And then if the key code is right, and direction x is -1, which would mean it would be going left. If it's not -1, it'll set the direction x to be 1 and direction y to be 0, making it go right. And then essentially the same thing for the next two, it'll be going down and left. And then we have an if statement. If the game over is true and the key pressed enter, it'll reset the game, which means like if the game is over. And then we have the draw fruit method, which is essentially gonna create the fruit. We have a red fruit, which it'll fill it in and then draw it. And then if the blue fruit is visible, meaning if the blue fruit should be there, it'll draw the blue fruit. If the purple fruit is visible, if it's true, purple fruit visible is true, it'll draw the purple fruit. If the white fruit visible is true, it'll draw the white fruit, and if the green fruit visible is true, it'll draw the green fruit. Um, next we have next we have the boolean is on snake. This boolean, it'll take two integers and then it'll go through the segment array, and then if the segment x is equal to the x of the fruit, it'll and the segment y is equal to the y of the fruit, it'll return true, meaning the fruit is on the snake is just the fruit, or else it'll return false. And then we have the spawn fruit method, which uses this the is on snake. It has a do while loop, which will set the fruit x to a random. It'll set the fruit x to a random x, y, and for fruit y it's a random y. And then while these new coordinates for the fruit, if they are on the snake, then it'll draw them again. It'll set them again, meaning the fruit won't ever spawn on the snake. Next, we have the reset game method. It'll just basically clear everything. It'll clear the snake array list. It'll add a new segment, which will be the starting segment. It'll set the direction to make it go right. It'll reset the score. It'll make the game over. It'll set the snake speed to be 10. It'll make all the fruits visibility false, and then it'll spawn the red fruit. And lastly, we have the show menu. It'll basically create the menu that we have with all the it'll create the text saying like the points, the percentages of each fruit, and then it'll draw the fruit next to it.